In this video, we're going to be giving Smash Ultimate fighters one more move. I've noticed so many missed moveset opportunities in the game, with some characters bafflingly not using some of their most iconic attacks and abilities, but today, that all changes. We're going on a quest to rectify this issue for every single fighter, beginning with those introduced in Smash 64 and continuing on to other games in future episodes of this new series. Some of these attacks are going to be simple, but as we get further and further on into the video, you'll notice that many will change the way that we think about these fighters. The only real rules here are no variants too close to existing attacks to reduce repetitivity, but none that are too complicated either, as that would be completely unrealistic. And the first one up here is Mario. Being around since the beginning, it's only natural that Mario has carried over some classic moves representing older titles like the Super Jump, 64 Slide, and Mario World Cape for example. But that hasn't stopped him from getting new moves, right? Yeah, just like how he got Flood added to his kit in 2008 with Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Yeah, it's been quite a while since the last big change. My idea is giving Mario Cappy from 2017's Super Mario Odyssey. One of the biggest hits on the Nintendo Switch, both sales-wise and reception-wise, and a big reason why is because of this lovable addition to the game. Allowing Mario to capture enemies was a great power-up replacement, but the mechanic of Cappy that we're using as this move is the horizontal throw. This allows Mario to jump off of it in Odyssey, and we're going to use the same mechanic in Smash Ultimate, allowing for some aid to Mario's horizontal recovery in the game. I feel this would be such a great addition into Mario's set, and the fact that it's only referenced in as a taunt is quite a shame. Moving on to Donkey Kong, an interesting case in Smash Bros. This is because while the feeling of playing him does make sense considering the size and power of the character, some of the moves really don't. This is because of some of the notable omissions, with the clearest one being the barrel throw. Now yes, this is an item that you can use in the game, but if we were to use that logic to exclude a move, then Mario shouldn't be able to use fireballs because the fire flower is an item as well. Obviously he should. This is the most iconic item that Donkey Kong uses throughout history, with the only possible competitor in my opinion being the banana. But since Diddy already uses it as one of his main gimmicks, I didn't prioritize it as much as the barrel. DK would be able to throw this, it would roll across the stage, and maybe there could be an RNG component with certain objects being inside of the barrel that appear at random, either doing more or less damage to the opponents. This would add an element of risk-reward to the character, which I would love to see. This also finally provides him with a ranged option for combat, as his moveset is entirely physical. While it's good to have some characters with an entirely physical moveset, it fits so well for this character to have a barrel that I see no reason to exclude it just to maintain this theming. Let's move on to Link, who got a big Breath of the Wild makeover for Smash Ultimate. Well, aesthetically anyway. Yeah, his bombs now operate the same way as they do in the iconic Switch launch title, but that's about it moveset wise. Let's change this by adding the Paraglide into his moveset. This is the item that allows Link to fly over great distances in the game, and there's actually a reference to it in the background of the Great Plateau stage as well if you look closely. I think it makes so much sense for Link to use this in his moveset, and if I'm being completely honest, it should have been his recovery option to begin with. But because his current set already has a vertical recovery, if we're adding it, I would mainly use this for a horizontal burst of momentum. A gust of wind could blow Link in a particular direction that's decided by a secondary input. It'll be useful to help Link get back on stage since his current options definitely aren't the best. It does all of this while also providing a pretty important reference, which will likely be increased in that regard further in the upcoming release of Breath of the Wild 2. Next up we have Samus, a character who in Ultimate possesses a variety of ranged attacks, and our idea here is going to add another one to this packed arsenal. This one is going to be based on the Ice Beam from various Metroid games. This one is going to act differently from her current blast because it's actually going to have a chance to slow down or even freeze the opponent depending on how balanced it is. This is going to reference how the weapon actually operates in the Metroid titles. In reality, there are so many more weapons that Samus could use in Smash, and there's a lot more that could work instead of just this one, but I feel like adding this one would provide a slight change of pace to the mainly damage focused attacks, where this one, like her down special, adds an extra layer of strategy to the gameplay. Our next character is one who I definitely have a mixed relationship with, but before we get into it, I just want to point out that a large portion of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel. Hey, if you're enjoying the content, why not subscribe, right? It'll ensure that you don't miss new episodes of the series when they show up in your feed. Alright, back to the characters. Let's move on to everyone's favorite character, with this being Yoshi. I joke about his moveset being annoying a lot on the channel, but I've got to admit it's pretty representative of his common abilities and appearances, except for his winged form. Some of you may remember back in Brawl and Smash 4, Yoshi had a completely different final smash where he'd fly around with wings and he could shoot fire at the opponent. This was eventually replaced in Ultimate when the philosophy behind Final Smash design changed, but a critical aspect to this is that it left Yoshi without this important part of representation. I'm only going to choose one of these abilities here, as I don't think allowing you to do both would be fitting as just one move and break the rules of this video. Since he's already got eggs as a projectile, I don't think fire is as much of a priority here, and he also doesn't have a traditional recovery option either, with his up special only providing a slight boost to his height, as he's got to rely on this insane jump for the rest of it. So we're going to go with the wing option here, completing this very important reference and also increasing his ability to recover onto the stage. In a perfect world, we'd get the ability to fly and shoot fire included again, but for this video, we're just going with one more move, and and I think this is the best choice. Next up, we have the first lovable pink ball of the video, with this being Kirby. This guy was really fortunate to be given a moveset where he's able to use an attack from every single fighter. Wonder why Kirby in particular. There's gotta be a reason, right? Kidding aside, if I was to add another move to his arsenal, I'd go with a bomb. A very common weapon that he uses in many games in the series. Kirby would drop this and it would soon explode unless you pick it up and choose to throw it elsewhere. I feel like this would add a nice variety to his kit, better than adding a rollout-esque attack akin to his counterpart Jigglypuff. Again, like a lot of these iconic characters, there are many options because of the plethora of source material to draw from, but I feel out of all these options that don't require a complete overhaul, this would be the best idea. Next up, we've got the face of Nintendo's biggest franchise. Wait, Star Fox? Oh, I guess I meant to write that for the next entry. Man, I hope it gets better. Star Fox, it's just never really found a solid direction. It's pretty sad. Someone who has found a direction, though, is Fox in the Super Smash Bros. Series. He's made a name for himself by being the classic fast character who doesn't deal much damage with each hit, but will get a lot of hits in. To complement his moveset, I think a good idea would be to add his staff from Star Fox Adventures. While a pretty controversial entry in the series from a fan-based reception perspective, does have a lot of untapped material from the series to draw from. And Fox's staff is one of those weapons that you just don't see a lot in other entries, but it would provide him with an extra bit of reach as a more powerful strike. I'm thinking of Marth's neutral special here as a frame of reference. I'd love to see this added. Moving on to the mascot of the actual highest grossing media franchise in the entire world, which still has GameCube level graphics in its mainline game entries, this being Pikachu. This guy is one of the most recognizable video game characters of all time, and his Smash moveset does use a variety of attacks from the series, but there are a couple of iconic ones missing. The main one that I want to focus on here is Electro Ball. This is an iconic attack from the series which is frequently used by Ash's Pikachu in the anime, where it's a charged ballistic attack that's then hurled at the opponents in their direction. While in the games its power is based on how fast the user is compared to the opponents, I feel implementing it in that format would be a little much for this type of attack, and it would really hurt the heavyweights, which is something that the game definitely doesn't need. This is why I'm going to be mainly basing it off of the anime format, allowing you to charge this and then release it in a similar vein to Lucario's attack, although I don't know if we necessarily need Pikachus to grow in size and power like the aura mechanic. That part could be left out. I feel including Electro Ball would complement Pikachu's other ranged attacks as well by giving him another tool in this arsenal. There were plenty of other options here though. You won't believe how close I was to putting Iron Tail in here, let me tell you. Like I said earlier, the further we go on into the video, we're going to continue to see more and more unique ideas, and Luigi is definitely one of those characters. Everyone's favorite Mario brother is quite an interesting case in Smash Bros., let me tell you. His moveset was originally based on Mario very closely, but over the years the two have gained a few new moves and attributes here and there, and now they don't seem as close anymore. Luigi is certainly fun to play, but there aren't too many attacks that are based on abilities unique to him in Smash, primarily material from Luigi's Mansion. They've taken steps in the right direction by giving him the Poltergeist in Smash 4 as a final smash, and in Ultimate he could use it as a grab, but even still he can't use it as a standard special, which I feel is a shame considering the wide array of abilities that it has. This is why for our boy Luigi we're giving him the Poltergeist special, which can have 3 main abilities to rotate through here, being the fire, water, and ice elements from the first game. Each would operate differently, with the fire being the main damaging option, water being somewhat equivalent to Mario's flood attack, and ice being able to freeze the opponent. This to me is the ideal scenario for if Luigi gets one more move, although I could see some of you guys having an issue with Poltergeist being used when it's implemented already. It's not breaking the rule because it's not similar to any of his current attacks, but yes, he does use the item in other areas as I mentioned. Some may also take issue with the 3 abilities for it, which while I don't consider it a character overhaul, it is a bit advanced, making 3 moves in one. A different idea that rectifies both of those issues is for him to use his hammer from Mario and Luigi, which wouldn't be my first choice, but it's a good substitute if you need one. Our next character is Ness from Earthbound, and he's in a very interesting situation, because a sad reality in Smash is that a variety of his attacks are ones which he can't actually use in the game. It's unfortunate, but we could try to rectify this with a new move. Ness's signature attack in Earthbound is PSI Rock, and although I feel like due to the sheer power and gravity of the move, it would be more suited for a final Smash roll than anything, so we're gonna go with PK Teleport instead. This is an event move in Earthbound which Ness can learn in the Dusty Dunes Desert, and it would operate in a similar vein to Mewtwo and similar characters' recovery options. Ness, like the aforementioned Yoshi, does have options for recovery, but they're not the best considering that PK Thunder's charge time allows it to be very punishable if you're in a vulnerable situation, which would be nice for the character, but the key here is that this is actually something that he can use in Earthbound, so pretty much anything in that vein could be considered a step in the right direction. Next up, we're moving on to our boy, Captain Falcon. He's made a name for himself by having a moveset built entirely from the ground up for Smash due to him not getting out of his car in F-Zero titles prior to the launch of Smash 64, and that led to him being a ton of fun to play around with. But there's one key aspect missing here, and that's the blaster. This has been equipped on his side for the entirety of his run, and since practically all of his moveset was made up to begin with anyways, I feel it would make a ton of sense to add this as a new component. This would allow him to pull it out of the holster and start blasting opponents into oblivion. Now he does have an entire moveset of melee attacks, so some would probably like a projectile added for variety, but some may also feel that it disrupts the theme, kinda like that Donkey Kong situation from before. Overall, I just really like the idea to use this design component, and that's the main influencer on my choice here. And moving on to the second pink ball of the video, with this being Jigglypuff. While not being nearly as unique as her counterpart, Puff still manages to warm the hearts of the Smash community. Well, maybe not in Melee. Puff uses a variety of Pokemon moves in her set, but no fairy-type attacks. Now this makes some sense when looking at it historically because of the general lack of major updates for older characters over the years, and when Fairy was introduced in Gen 6 with the type getting tacked onto Jigglypuff, there wasn't any new move added to represent this in Smash at the time. My first choice today is Disarming Voice for a couple of reasons. Number one, this gets a fairy-type attack in her set, which solves that problem, and my second reason is actually pretty cool. Puff was frequently portrayed in the Pokemon anime singing, and since Disarming Voice is obviously a sound-based attack, it makes so much sense to reference this iconic trait of the character from the anime. This would also be a ranged attack, which would be a nice style complement to her moveset, since Sing is the only real ranged option currently, and it's not even a damaging move. To me, there's no better choice here. It combines the best of both worlds. In terms of the next character, we're gonna get to them soon, and I'd really appreciate it if you left ideas for moves in the comments, as I may use them in the next episode. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll see you soon.